Here are 5 things that I wish women over 35 knew about their health. And I can guarantee at least 2 out of 5 of them are gonna surprise you. Let's dive in. There are so many things that I wish women knew when it came to their health and well-being, but I'm just going to hone in on a couple of them today. But seriously, there are so many, because if you actually just think back and look back in history, women's bodies, women's health has never been valued. We're starting to, just starting to now, but historically, women's bodies been transactional, not been valued. You don't see that in the medical research. You don't see that in how women's bodies have been talked about, treated. It's a whole PhD in itself. So I'm not going to dive into that, but I am going to dive into the things that I want you to know. And then please go and tell your friends this, especially if you are getting to your late 30s, 40s and beyond. These are the things really that dieting culture has robbed us of. You know, the main thing I got taught growing up when I joined my first dieting club at age 11 was about how to lose weight. That was the breadth of advice, expertise I was given around women's health. It was primarily around weight loss. So we have been truly robbed of so much knowledge, so much basic education, and enough is enough, okay? So we're gonna dive in deep to some of these key principles. Also, apologies, I'm recovering from being a bit ill, so as I'd say in Scotland, I still look a bit peely-welly. Not gonna lie, I'm not sure the makeup's helping me, but I've got a blanket and a cozy spot, so we're gonna go with it, bad lighting and all. So this first one is probably not gonna come as a huge surprise to you, but it's this. I wish more women, especially in the late 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond, realized how powerful food was. How powerful food was in terms of helping them with menopause, how powerful it was in terms of managing their stress levels, their energy, their body composition, their joint pain, their mental health. I feel I'm a holistic nutritionist, so, this is where my hyper focus is. But also, it's so strategic, right? You eat 3 times a day, maybe more like 4 or 5. So underutilizing that habit that you have every day in order to survive just seems really illogical. Whereas if you can learn the foods that are superfoods for you, for your unique body, the foods that can really help in terms of your own hormonal balance, your own mental health, your energy levels, is just huge. You can get away with a lot in your 20s and late teens and early 30s, but most of the time women feel it. Mid 30s, late 30s, start of their 40s, we feel it, right? There's a shift. Either it's in your body composition or it's in your hormones, something changes. And it's because the body is, I say it like this a lot of the time to clients, it's the body's probably been buffering some of the poorer choices or the foods that you maybe didn't even know weren't serving you in your 20s. And now the body's giving you receipts and letting you know, hey, this isn't working. So even things I think about a silly example, I had a client once who was actually postmenopausal, but was really struggling with loads of joint pain and a whole bunch of other health issues, but they were about to have grandchildren and they weren't able to pick them up and hold them, right? And was kind of devastated by this because of all this joint pain. And she'd gone through all the conventional tracks of it and they couldn't figure out what was going on. It wasn't rheumatoid arthritis, blah, 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 blah. And then actually we just realized there was a specific group of foods that she was really sensitive to. She didn't have an allergy to it. But if she did not eat this specific set of foods, she did not get joint pain. As soon as she ate these foods, she got joint pain again. It was as simple as that. And it wasn't this obvious allergy thing. It was only really through trial and error, listening to her body, listening to her root causes, that we could understand that. So most of the time before mid-30s, food is functional, it's pleasure, maybe not giving much thought of it. You think you can get away with lots of things potentially. But really the rubber hits the road when you get from 35 onwards. And that's where the opportunity is, where you can, if you can learn and gather information about your unique body. This is the thing here. I don't mean go on Instagram and find the latest dietary trend. No, I mean really understand what works for your body. Then that, pure gold, pure gold. I also did another little hill walk recently. So this is just some snapshots of a little hill walk near Loch Lomond. It was a really humid day. This is me struggling on the up. Very sweaty. But I mean, I feel like the views were worth it. You know? I mean, this is beautiful. Hello, Scotland. I should really be on the tourism board of Scotland. So the next thing I wish more people knew about, and I feel like sometimes I'm a bit of a broken record with this, but as soon as you get into your late 30s, 40s, 50s, and by the way, all of these things, if you're like about to turn 50, it's not too late. You're never too late for any of these things, FYI. But the thing I wish, like I literally wish we got taught this at school, is that you need to start prioritizing eating protein, and you need to start prioritizing building muscle. Why? Because as you head into perimenopause and menopause, and just as aging happens, naturally you're going to be losing more muscle mass. And the muscle, if we put it really simply, if we just think about it as being really protective in terms of your lifespan, your energy, your mitochondrial health, your metabolic health, your mental health, all of these different kinds of things. And as your hormones fluctuate and change through menopause, we need to maintain that muscle mass moving forward. The next thing, protein, again, can be really beneficial for building muscle, but even separately from that, as your hormones change, protein can be really useful in helping the inevitable insulin resistance that comes with perimenopause and that fluctuation, that slow decline, but fluctuating estrogen and progesterone. Protect protein and eating adequate proteins, especially at breakfast, and that's where I would begin with this, is really important. And most of the time, 90% of the people I'm working with are really under eating when it comes to protein. And it's because people think, like, they go to different odd extremes. They think, well, eating loads of protein means I need to eat like 10 chicken breasts a day. No, but you do need to eat more generally than the limited recommended government allowance, which is based on like survival, what your body needs to survive. Surviving and thriving are not the same thing. And there's a lot of things you could say about those government, whatever, which I'm not going to dive into here. But needing to eat more protein. And for a lot of the time, if we're looking for a ballpark figure, especially if you're looking to shift your body composition, you want at least 25 to 30 grams of protein in a meal. And ideally, that can sound like and that in itself can be a huge change. So you've got to go slow with this. So for example, an egg might be 6 to 7 grams of protein. Do you see? So that can, when you could be like, hitting 30 grams could feel really difficult. So that's why often I tell people and my clients just begin with breakfast, start there, especially if you're looking to focus on body recomposition. Then starting there and then just slowly building your way up. Obviously, if you eat a vegetarian diet or if you are vegan, your range of proteins gets more and more limited. But if you're pescatarian, vegetarian, but it's doable. What I'm saying is it's doable vegetarian, it's doable vegan. There's just more choice if you are pescatarian and even more choice then if you are an omnivore. But I honestly, when you are a female, especially if you're struggling with your body composition, if you're struggling with hormones, if you're feeling hungry all the time, sugar cravings late at night, you're not sleeping very well, you're not really too sure what's going on, but you're just waking up and having like sourdough toast and peanut butter for breakfast, that doesn't cut it anymore in your 40s. It doesn't. You need to be adding like some smoked salmon and 3 eggs to that sourdough toast if you want it to fly. And if you don't believe me, that's totally fine. Experiment with yourself. Commit to 2 weeks of trying to have 25 to 30 grams of protein in a breakfast and see how you feel. So I made it to the top. And look, this is just classic Scotland. Roasting, wearing a sports bra on the way up, winter hat and jumpers at the top. Couldn't see a thing. Felt like I was in Lord of the Rings, but totally worth it. And obviously, snack, tea break, but with a view. Beautiful. And I really wish that women knew how to uncover their root cause. And I really wish that more women knew how and what was happening with their body. I think dieting culture again has really brainwashed us into looking at like external structures for the answers of our bodies, whether it's how many calories you should have, how many sins you should have, how many exercise workouts you should do. What I really wish women could do is learn about their unique body, what it uniquely needs, because when you know your body, your genetics, your gut microbiome, your hormonal patterns, your body, not some like fitness influencer on Instagram, your body, that information is lifelong. That's why I think I've been able to recover from like pregnancy so well, and why I feel better after having 3 babies in 2 years than I did before that, because I knew what my body needed to recover, and I knew my body really well. We have become really disconnected from our bodies and as women, and that's totally understandable given history, the assaults on women's bodies, the whole history of women's health and women's bodies. But what we need to do, what you need to do in order to see real change and things that last, is really understand and get information, personalized information on your body. That's why I offer my root cause sessions, the root cause deep dive sessions, which is a 2-hour deep dive, which you can book just using the link below, which is actually essentially doing that, just helping you understand what is going on in your body, not just like generic ChatGPT answers or just Google searches or being told everything's fine when things obviously aren't fine. It's really being able to have a holistic approach, a functional medicine approach, looking at you as a whole person, which is basically what those two phrases mean, looking at you as a whole person and figuring out, okay, what is going on in my body? What does this symptom mean? And when you know what's going on in your body, you know exactly what to do about it. You can cut through all the noise, all the overwhelm, and do the things that work. That's what I like. I'm not interested in people like taking time and wasting time on their health because just for kicks. No. The goal is that you do things that work for your body, that work so you feel better, so you can get on and live this incredible life. Not that you have like a part-time job working on your health. That's boring. Nobody wants that. The idea is that you work on your health so you can go and live this one and beautiful and precious life. But you don't do that by following generic stuff. You get that when you understand your unique body, its history, its genetics, the systems. How do your hormones work? That I honestly, I wish more women knew that. If you want to know what your unique root causes are, you can literally sign up and book your session below. The link is just below, keziahall.com/root. But whether it's with me, whether it's another practitioner, learn and gather data on your body. Your body. That's what you want. That's the gold. Because when you can give your body what it needs, everything gets easier, quicker, and simpler. Which is what we want, right? So this is me. See that relieved face I have? This is me coming down the hill. And again, it's roasting again. I'm boiling hot. The winter hat is off. I'm glad I've got sunscreen. It's hilarious. But the next thing I want to share with you, as I share some recent footage from some apple picking that we did, because hello September, is the biggest mistake women make so much, and that I honestly wish more people knew this, especially if they're struggling with their hormones or their body composition and want to lose weight, or to be fair, any health issue, is sleep. When you get entering your 30s, 40s, 50s, this is the time where you have to learn it's time to sleep like a boss. Take it seriously. Again, it's a bit like food. We have to sleep to survive as humans, right? If you do not sleep, you die. Therefore, it's something you do every day. So you want to make it as productive, efficient, or said another way, as good a quality for you as humanly possible, because you are going to see so much return on that investment of the time you sleep. Now is not like, for years women have been on the altar of sleep deprivation, and some of that comes with motherhood for those of you that go through that. But getting quality sleep is one of the most important things that I wish more people knew about, and how it impacted their weight, their hormones, and their mental health. Also, this wasn't going to be one of my official points, but I feel like I need to say it. Fiber. We all know about fiber and how important it is in a way, or I don't know, maybe we don't. But with things like the rates of like colon cancer just rising so much and other issues happening, most of the time people aren't eating the recommended daily amounts of fiber each day. And fiber is just needed for your gut microbiome. It's just something, it's a bit like brushing your teeth. You know, we just got to start being like, chug, chug, like just tick, tick. Like I'm brushing my teeth, getting my fiber. I sometimes do this with mixed seeds. If I'm like, oh, I've not gotten enough fiber today, just get a glass of water, put a couple of tablespoons of linseeds in, and shot it down like a terrible shot of something. It's not particularly sexy, it's not particularly delicious, but it's functional. Why? Because I've recognized that this body is a system. It needs certain things. Fiber isn't just like, it would be good if we had it. Nutrients and minerals aren't like, it would be helpful if we had B12, be helpful if we had amino acids. No, these things are essential for your body. And I kind of wish more people knew that. Vitamins, minerals, macronutrients aren't just like, it would be a bonus if the body had that. No, these things are essential for the system that is your body to work. If it does not have these things, it's not going to work optimally. It's a bit like trying to make a birthday cake without eggs. You could make something out of it. You'll get something edible out of it, but is it going to be delicious? Probably not. You know? And the final thing that I wish more women understood the biology of, like the cellular reality of, was that of stress. Now, I know. You might just want to roll your eyes, tune out, switch off. So I invite you to not really think about it as the word stress. I invite you to think about it as data inputs of threat to your body. So these are things that can input your brain externally, or stressful things internally that can be interpreted as threat to the brain. So not having enough food, threat to the brain. Not having enough sleep, threat to the brain. Someone shouting at you or abuse out externally, threat to the brain. And it's really important that we move as women to thinking about this in a way that's outside of our body and realizing that stress, these threats, change the cellular reality of our body. They change over time your hormones, your genetic expression, the vibrancy and resiliency of your gut health. They impact where and how and if you store excess body fat. This isn't just like, oh, you feel a bit stressed, I should probably do some yoga. Like that might be air quotes nice. No, this is about making sure your cells do what you actually want them to do. And for so long, I think we've kind of gotten so sick about hearing about stress, which I totally understand because I used to be that person, that we've kind of disconnected or not really realized that we're not just talking about like handling stress for just the sheer sake of it. What we're talking about is changing your biology. We're changing your biochemistry. We need your brain and your cells to feel safe, especially if you want to balance your hormones, especially if you want to lose weight, especially if you want to improve your mental health. So learning and having strategies that work for you. Now, that doesn't need to be the same strategies as me. Like, I like meditation, I like yoga, I like some of these more textbooky spiritual woo things. And that works for me, but there is so many tools. But the point is not which tool you use or which tool is right. The point is that you have things that reduce your stress, that help to change the data input to your brain, meaning you have things that you do every day and regularly that tell your cells that you're safe. And because you're safe, it can start healing, it can burn extra fat, it can have healthy metabolism, all of these things. If you are just in this chronic stress mode, it's really difficult, especially in this age bracket. As you get older as a woman and menopause is happening and caregiving is happening and all these things are happening, it becomes no joke. Like, you need strategies that work for you in terms of stress management. That is a non negotiable. And I think it's something, especially when it comes to losing weight or when it comes to menopause, that we just sort of miss out of the equation sometimes, and that needs to not happen. Okay, so finding the strategies that work for you is so important when it comes to really supporting your overall health. This isn't like an optional extra, and it also doesn't need to stop meaning you'd spend hours doing this every day. It's just about being intentional, and being intentional from a place of understanding your biology, not as a, oh, it's time to relax, I should relax, as a, this is like a medicine for my cells. If I don't do it, if I don't do this thing like brushing my teeth every day, if I don't adjust the data input to my brain to create safety, then I'm going to get ill. Just like if I don't brush my teeth every day, I'm going to get tooth decay. If I don't manage the data input, the stress management in my brain every day, there's going to be brain decay. That's not really, but you know what I mean. Do you get the analogy? But it's something that, because we've made it emotional, stress emotional rather than biochemical, we sort of like put it in a different box. And I think when you're in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, menopause time, that's when the rubber hits the road, when you realize, oh, right, no, this is no longer optional. And the body, if it hasn't done already, will stop whispering to you and start screaming at you, because it's been under too much chronic stress for too long. And there needs to be a strategy there. There needs to be some intention in terms of your brain and your cells need to feel safe. So if you can work on these things, or just be aware of them, even going one at a time, looking at the importance of sleep, knowing your own body, connecting with your body rather than like outsourcing that to Instagram, ChatGPT, gather data on your body, understand your unique root causes, eat in a way that really fuels you at this season of life and preparing you for perimenopause and menopause. And really take your brain health, meaning your stress management, seriously. You can stop wasting time on like nearly all other strategies. So many people are like, Kezia, should I be taking creatine? What about NNM? What about this supplement? What about this? What about this? What about this? And these are some of the key foundations for women, especially as you are entering 40s, perimenopause time, that we need to get right, that most of us have never been taught. So you're welcome. And also, don't feel totally overwhelmed. You can just, it might be enough for you for the next month or 6 weeks just to focus on sleep. That's great. And then move on to something else. Or just to focus on, right, I'm just going to add more protein with breakfast. You don't have to do everything at once to make progress and see massive results. So I hope that this is really helpful. Know that you can feel better. It is possible. Getting older is not this inevitable decline where you just feel like this fat, frumpy, awful female, where you'll forget things and your brain goes, no. When you can understand your unique body, when you get to know your own genetics and cells, you can actually really learn to set yourself up for success. And if you want help with that, I would love to help you. This is literally a thing I just geek out about with my clients all the time, because you get to feel well, you get to be that radiant, well, healthy woman. It is available to you. You just probably need to get some of the foundations right, get the strategy and the support that you need to get there. You can age and become more well. I feel better now as a 37-year-old than I did when I was 27. And my goal is just to keep feeling better and better, because I'll keep understanding my body more and more. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Bye.